Imraan Noorbhai. I'm the head of personal and private banking for Standard Bank here in KwaZulu Natal. Maybe I'll use this opportunity just to give you some insights into my background. In terms of formal education, I studied at the University of KwaZulu Natal. There I finished my degree in accounting, my honors, and subsequent to that, I went down the accounting route where I did my articles at a medium-sized company in KZN called Desai Jadot Incorporated, and it's that institution where I really learned to be an entrepreneur. Following that, I then pursued my certification, where I got my Associate General Accounting certification by SICA, together with my Professional Accounting certification. Thereon, my career started, where I then landed my first job post articles at a company in KwaZulu Natal, a company called Competition Motors. And that was my first stance at getting into industry. And the first industry was obviously the motor industry, and that was a startling revelation in terms of running a real business. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me, where within 2 months of being employed, I was then seconded to run the Johannesburg operation, where I took over the entire operation as the general manager in charge of Competition Motors Johannesburg, which was the biggest operation at that juncture, responsible for finance, operations, together with some of the technical aspects of the business. And it was a huge learning curve, trying to get to understand some of the motor manufacturing components, details around how engines are remanufactured, some of the import-export connotations relating to this complex business coming from articles. But it was really a wonderful experience in terms of my first job post-articles that actually pivoted my career to where it is today. Okay, so after I completed a 3-year stint at Competition Motors, I then evolved into one of the head offices, which was the machinery equipment company that was responsible more for the importation of the huge motor manufacturing of engine components. And I spent about a 1.5 year there, where I got a huge exposure to the import-export industry, understanding details around manufacturing and some of the support mainstreams into motor manufacturing. It was, I recall, about 1.5 years after my exposure to the motor industry, where I saw an opportunity to perhaps explore opportunities in financial services. It was at that point I joined Standard Bank as the head of measurement. And here at Standard Bank, my career started off in terms of building scorecards and some of the measurement tools that are still used up until today in terms of performance indicators, behavioral economics, understanding what drives business, and getting scorecards in place across the entire value chain, be it branches, ATMs, and managing provincial performance together with performance indicators at a national level in terms of the key triggers that drives economics for a bank. My transition at Standard Bank was quite a fast trajectory, where during the first year of having performed my role as the head of measurement, I then got into pure finance, where I was promoted to the head of finance for retail banking, where I looked after the branch banking, the customer channels, the ATM distribution capability. And following on that, due to my expertise and developing capability in terms of branch banking, I then assumed an executive position where I then ran head of finance as an executive responsible for distribution within the retail banking space for Standard Bank South Africa as the head of finance. So for me, that was the epitome. That was where I really felt indeed a proud moment in terms of that success during a short period of time, having had multiple promotions within the Standard Bank Group and having then achieved the executive position as head of finance for distribution. It was in 2010 where I reflected in terms of my position in finance, and I was looking for a business opportunity. I said, using the skills of finance, where you write about history, you write about financial performance, I thought this is an ideal opportunity for me to venture into the banking world of running a business portfolio. And it was at that junction where one of our key leaders, Lincoln Mali, gave me the opportunity to assume a position in KwaZulu Natal as the head of retail banking. And my career in KwaZulu Natal Standard Bank spans 14 years. I've completed multiple roles, firstly as the head of retail banking in KwaZulu Natal, then as the provincial head of KwaZulu Natal, then as the head of retail and business banking KwaZulu Natal, and now the head of personal and private banking KwaZulu Natal. So my career spanned multiple business units across the various customer propositions in KwaZulu Natal, and I really enjoyed the transition from finance into business. I've excelled in this particular position, and clearly the impact that we have made through the teams has been most inspiring for me. Seeing the teams develop, seeing our customers transition through the various segments as their businesses improve and gain new heights, and more importantly, seeing our staff excel in terms of their career prosperity. I think having worked for an organization like Standard Bank for 27 odd years, I have to reflect on the purpose of the organization, which is intricately intertwined with my vision and my personal purpose. And our purpose as an organization is Africa is our home, we drive our growth. And for us, it's about how do we improve lives and fulfill aspirations through banking for our customers and for our staff. So for me, my purpose is about how do I see my customers transition the various challenges as they develop their businesses to new heights, and how do I see our staff excel from cradle to grave? How do they excel in terms of their career trajectory in the bank? And for me, what delights me the most is seeing them develop, grow, and assume positions within and outside the organization using the skills that they managed to harness within the Standard Bank Group. I think for me, the big accomplishment was when I became executive at Standard Bank. I think within 6 years of being employed at Standard Bank, having achieved executive status is a turning point in my career. It is something that I would always treasure, and having achieved that milestone was an opportunity for me then to give back to our customers, to give back to our staff, and to share their experience, and using that knowledge and expertise to inspire myself to take the organization forward. And the other one that I would like to mention is that I always had the burning platform while at Standard Bank to develop a proposition for Sharia banking. And in 2014, I spearheaded the calibration of Sharia banking at Standard Bank. And today, 7 years later, we stand proud as having the second largest market share of Sharia banking in South Africa. So for me, it was one of those moments that I'll always treasure. I had a vision, I had a dream that one day we will develop this proposition, and through collaboration and channeling the energy through resources within the organization, we managed to pull off the proposition for Standard Bank. So indeed, a proud moment for me. I think for me, it's about not taking life too seriously. Life is short. Invest in your well-being, invest in self-care, plan for the future, but not at all cost. And more importantly, is to live life in terms of care for your people, leading with empathy. I think that's the fundamental departure point that is lacking in many organizations, locally and globally, is that how do we lead our teams with empathy and respect? When we talk about challenges, it reminds me of an experience I had on an immersion in Kenya, where we had a meeting with the governor of the Reserve Bank of Kenya, and he said, and it was so profound for me, he says, Africa is blessed. Africa is blessed with problems, and we have an opportunity to carve those problems into solutions to solve for the huge challenges that we see on the continent. And for me, that was the turning point, is that for every challenge, if you see the challenge as an opportunity, like I've explained the Sharia banking proposition, the sky is the limit in terms of how we unlock potential and how do we create opportunities to change those challenges into prosperity. Having been in KwaZulu Natal for the last 14 years, you would recall that we've experienced almost everything in this province. So for me, we have an amazing team that is full of resilience. And their resilience is unparalleled in terms of how they can adapt to the changing environment and produce exceptional results despite the adversity. And the recipe that I have is that is about empowerment. I believe that if we empower our teams, give them the tools, clear the path and the obstacles, they will generate miracles. And we've seen that in terms of the empowerment model, the ability to learn from their mistakes, to fail fast, and to innovate. And that has differentiated us from the rest. For me, on the personal level, it'll have to be, on the religious side, my major inspiration will be from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because he is the living example in terms of how one should live one's life, in terms of the basic values and principles. But on the corporate side, I will take the people that inspire me is the giants of Standard Bank in the past and in the present, and I'm sure into the future. People like Lincoln Marley, people like Peter Slebush, Funeka Manjani, our Chief Executive for Personal and Private Banking, and then our Chief Executive, Sim Shabalala. These are the giant leaderships on the shoulders we stand today that have visions for the future. And it is clearly embodied in the fact that we have a great organization that is 163 years old, and an organization that is unlocking potential on this continent we call home. And I look to them in terms of the future and how they've managed to see through the obstacles and create opportunities and continue to create opportunities on this great continent that is full of hope and prosperity. For me, I believe that KZN is a prosperous province, and I want this prosperity to be unfolded to everybody that lives in our beautiful province. We see ourselves as a gateway to Africa, as a gateway to the world. And how do we use our diversity, our rich cultures, our natural resources, our beauty, our geographic location, so that all can benefit from the wonders of this beautiful province that we call home. Okay, so I believe in leading with humanity, justice, and honesty. And how do we lead our teams? Empathy, and how do we show empathy to our customers? And I believe that if we adopt this rationale and this motto of humanity, justice, honesty, and empathy, it will be achieving business results will become inevitable.